Welcome to another episode of Titans Talk. I am your host, Mike McCamey, and today we are going to be grading every single free agency signing that the Titans made. So let's jump right into it. So, the first person that I'm going to look over, I'm sorry, I need to have a sticky note for this one because I haven't memorized it as well as I did the draft class. But anyway, so we're going to start off with Andre Dillard, offensive tackle from the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I am intrigued by this. This may be the most I am intrigued by a specific signing, even more than my best graded one. This one is not my best graded one. But why I'm intrigued by this is that I'm thinking that, maybe he was just buried behind some amazing talent, Like, he may, he was a Philadelphia Eagle. He had to sit behind, great players like Lane Johnson or uh, I can't remember any of those. I can't remember the other offensive tackle, but anyway, um, he's been stuck behind some great offensive linemen because that's the best offensive line in the NFL, no doubt. I could see your debate with some other teams, but to me, best offensive line. Anyway, you know, now I'm not too sure if he was just buried behind talent this whole time or if he's just not good enough to be a starter, but there's a lot of intrigue because he's speedy. Now, he only played 32 snaps last year. That's the problem. But he did play, but he didn't have any penalties and didn't allow a sack, so that's got to count for something, right? Anyway, um, he's probably going to be our starting left tackle because, Skronsky is going to be our starting left guard, even though he was drafted as a left tackle because, his arms are just so, for an NFL offensive lineman, his arms are probably 10 times longer than mine, but but his, but his arms are just so small for an NFL offensive lineman. So he's got to be a left guard instead of a left tackle. But anyway, so Andre Dillard, uh, again, most intriguing one to me at least. Um, you know, we'll have to see how he plays, but overall, I think it has a decent idea behind it. I think that he's obviously got experience with a great coaching staff, and now he's going to another great coaching staff. Well, at least another great head coach and defensive coordinator. Not, I'm still not sold on the offensive coordinator, but anyway. So overall, I'm going to give it a B plus. Now, I know that a lot of people are giving it like somewhere in like the A's or something, but the only reason I'm not is because it's more of a potential thing than a quality thing. Because like A's to me are ones that are more likely to produce and have proven that they can be good, while like B's are like, they've got potential, but we got to see him play first. So B plus for me because he's right on the line of showing that he can produce. But anyway, the next one that I was going to cover was Arden Key. Now, this dude was an edge for the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. Now, from what I can remember, the Jags do not have the best secondary, not even a little bit. And that's why their defense was so bad, let's be real. But how I've been feeling recently about Arden Key is that, so I looked up his stats. I believe he had 6.5 sacks in uh, with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he had like 5 sacks with the 49ers. Now whenever he was with the 49ers, that was one of the years where they were battling injuries and whatever on the defensive side. So to me, what I'm thinking is he was able to produce with the Jags like he was able to. Imagine what he's going to be like whenever he lines up. He was able to produce like 5-ish sacks. Imagine what he'll be able to do lined up beside Jeffrey Simmons, Danico Autry. Harold Landry's probably coming back this year. Probably, we'll still have to see. But, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting signing to me. I'm very excited to see what he does for us. But overall, I gave it an A minus because he's shown that he can be decent. He just hasn't shown that he can be like great. So I gotta give it an A minus because, well, yeah, but my next person was Daniel Brunskill. So this was an offensive tackle that used to play for the 49ers. This dude was buried behind some talent. Now, the weapons around the 49ers are great, but the offensive line, apart from Trent Williams, who may arguably be one of the best offensive linemen of all time, he definitely had I think that he had the best offensive line season of all time in 2021, I believe it was. So, like, yeah, apart from him, it's usually either, from what I can tell, it's good to mediocre. You know, like Mike McGlinchey, for example, who just signed with the Broncos. Good player, don't get me wrong, but was also sometimes could be a little inconsistent. So, to me, it's hard to grade Daniel Brunskill because he hasn't had that many opportunities. I don't know like his background, but if I had to guess, he would probably end up starting for us because our offensive line is just that bad. No offense to Daniel Brunskill, but like, oof, man, I do not like I do not like our offensive line, and that's why Daniel Brunskill is going to get a higher grade. Like if this was like some other thing, like if I was covering the Browns or the uh let me think of another one. If I was covering like the Browns or the Lions even, I would give this a C minus because you have no idea what he's going to do, but most likely he's just going to be a backup. So, but it's the Tennessee Titans who have an awful offensive line. I think that most of that was because of Dennis Daly, but uh, like a bad offensive line, and we don't have that much depth either. So, at least at some of the positions on the offensive line. So, you know, I'm gonna give it a C plus because I don't think it has enough potential to get into the B area, but I don't think that's so bad that I got to give it a D. We got to see, like, I need to see if he's going to be a starter or a backup or not. And even if he does start, I got to see how he plays. That's just the truth. Oh yeah, I'll also say this: apart from Arden Key, I've heard nothing about any of these other players in training camp. Oh no, wait, there's one that I have heard about that looks like he's going to be really good for us, which I predicted whenever I first saw that we signed him. I was really excited because, like, he's an underrated player at a position that we really need, like, really badly. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. The next person that we got to cover is Aziz Al Shair. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. I'm not completely sure, but uh, anyway, he was also. I gotta double check this. I believe he was a Niner, but if he wasn't, then I'm wrong. I guess Rand Carthen brought a lot. If he is, then Rand Carthen brought a lot of his Niners guys over to Tennessee this offseason. But anyway, so I am interested in this. He's the David Long Jr. replacement, basically. Him and Rice are going to be the guys that are going to try and fill that void because the truth he is that from what I can tell, he's pretty similar to David Long Jr., but he's been buried behind. Like he's actually been buried behind one of the best linebackers in the NFL. What's his name again? I can't remember his name. But you know who it is. I can't remember, but yeah, you should know who it is at least. So, to me, this was one of the better signings of this offseason. I have some very good, so I have some interest in it. and I'm gonna give it a B plus because it has potential, and we've seen him have a couple of decent seasons, but I haven't seen enough to where I'm just like, oh yeah, this guy is gonna be the David Long Jr. replacement, and he's gonna help us get over the hump of missing David Long Jr. Because I'm not too sure about that. Why did we let him go for only $6 million? That makes no sense to me because he went to Miami. I understand they're probably a better contender than we are right now, but come on, we could have at least offered him a longer contract or heck, even a bigger contract than Miami, and he probably would have came back. Why did we let him go for only $6 million? He was a good player. Now, that makes me think that he may have lacked in work ethic or something, which would very much shock me. But it makes no sense to me. Same thing with Nate Davis. He should have. We should have tried to. We should have kept him. I know that he went to Chicago, who has all the money in the world. So the Chicago Bears at least have all the money in the world this year with that insane cap space, but which will probably be us next year. But anyway, uh, oh, okay. This was the dude that I was talking about earlier that I think is the best signing. And the grade that I gave him is going to be very controversial. But we have Sean Murphy Bunting next. This guy, I am so happy that we signed this guy. And we signed him to a cheap contract, too. He is a solid defensive back that has proven that he can guard some of the best. If I remember correctly, he was the one that threw out the peace sign to Tyreek Hill in the. No, wait, was that Antoine? I think that may have actually been Antoine Winfield. But anyway, but he was a part of a secondary that won a Super Bowl and was one of the best defenses in the NFL. Now, I will say most of that was probably because of that defensive line, the linebacker core with Devin White and Levante David. But he was obviously and Antoine Winfield, like I mentioned earlier, but he was still involved with that defense. He didn't completely sell that defense out let me think about someone. Oh yeah, our offensive line, like Dennis Daly, who, our offensive line was already bad, but he made our offensive line look 10 times worse than it actually was. I would consider it probably if 24th. I would say that there were 8 offensive lines worse than the Titans last year if we didn't have Dennis Daly. Right, that's the big thing. But we had Dennis Daly, so I would have said that we were bottom 3 in offensive line production, just to show you how bad he was. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, he is going to be very good for us. We've already heard amazing things about him in training camp, about how he's been locking down a bunch of the receivers. Him locking down Treylon gives me concern, but overall, I'm very excited to see Sean Murphy Bunting because I think he also fits what Vrabel wants, a very physical, cornerback that, is somewhat flexible too. So, I'm very interested and I'm very excited to see what he can do. He's produced on a Super Bowl winning team, so that's why I have him at an A+. That is going to be very controversial, I know. But I'm also grading this in comparison to the rest of the free agent class. This dude I would say he's miles ahead of everyone else in this free agency class. Arden Key comes close-ish, but, he's still but he's still behind. Anyway, okay, so the last free agent of today, Chris Moore. I have no clue what to say about this dude. He's had a couple of 500-yard receiving seasons. He played for the Texans last year. Golly, why do we love stealing people from our own division? It's just like we're rubbing it in their face. It's just like, hey, let me take this player and show you how we can make him into a productive player while you weren't able to make him into anything too special. It feels strange to me. I mean, I like it because, we get to rub it into the Colts and the Texans, not the Jags anymore, at least. But, like, anyway, the actual signing. So he's a veteran. He's going to bring a veteran presence to the receiving core that we do not have. I mean, like, all of our dudes are bad, but most of our dudes aren't that great, but they're very young. Like Treylon Burks, Kyle Phillips, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, Racing McMath. Those are our four. Those are our four receivers right now, unless Chris Moore comes in and steals McMath's receiver 4, which I believe he will. But anyway, I think. By the way, I think Kyle Phillips could actually end up being a solid player. But anyway, I'm really not that interested in this one. This was a boring signing, and I gave this grade a little less than the other ones because going into the offseason, everyone knew this. I knew this. Your mother knew this. My grandma knew this. Everyone knew that we needed at least one solid enough receiver to complement Treylon and Chig. But we got a veteran whose best season has been, I believe, 600 yards and 4 touchdowns ish. So, like, why did we not try and go after like a Alan Lazard or a let me think of another free agent receiver. Why can't I think of any right now? I can't think of another, but why couldn't we go after like an Alan Lazard, a veteran who has had solid seasons whenever he's been healthy and is one of Aaron Rodgers' most trusted targets? Like, why didn't we? Like, I understand that he probably got because I understand that he got the bag from the Jets because he was on Aaron Rodgers' wish list, but like it doesn't make sense to me because there are probably other veteran receivers that I can't think of right now that would have been so good for us and would have been very helpful to make this receiver core at least understandable. Like Treylon could end up being really good. We just don't know about it yet. Okay, Nick Westbrook-Ikhine is probably a receiver 3 or 4 on any other team in the NFL. And Kyle Phillips has also the potential to be very good. We just don't know if he'll stay healthy. But overall, Chris Moore, I give a C minus. I would have given him like a C or a C plus. The only reason I'm giving him less is because he's not a good enough receiver to elevate this receiver core into being reasonable. Like, if this was like Alan Lazard or something, he would probably be an A minus ish. And I would be confident in saying our receiver core is going to be okay. But anyway, so overall grade for this not the receiver core class. I got so carried away with the receiver core that I decided to start talking about them instead of the free agency. But overall, this free agency class, I would give this is a tough one to grade, but because of people like Sean Murphy Bunting, Arden Key, and Andre Dillard, I'm gonna give it a B. Yeah, a B. Because like I don't think it was as good as our draft class, but I mean, including our undrafted free agents, I would give it a B plus because we addressed the kicker position. But B overall. We'll see how this ends up. I think it'll end up okay because I think that Andre Dillard has the credentials to end up being a very good tackle, and Arden Key has enough playmakers around him to take pressure off of him, and Azeez Al-Shaair is very athletic from what I've heard, and Sean Murphy Bunting is going to help that cornerback room. So that's been all for today. I'm Micah McCamey. Thank you for watching, and tighten up.